Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're doing a backup camera on this 2018 Nissan Versa. Now in this install we're going to show you how to connect that backup camera to an existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. Alright, so we're here at the bench now. The camera that we're going with for the install is just really this no-name camera that the customer wants us to install here today. Now this actually included with our doubled-in aftermarket radio as a kit. We can suggest our recommended backup cameras in the description or the radio backup camera combo that the customer wants us to install. We'll link that down in the description as our recommendation. Comes with the camera, a little bit of wiring, power harness for the camera, and in our application here today we may or may not need this bracket adapter to convert the universal mount to a license plate mount, just so we don't have to drill in. Sometimes there's a light or a license plate light that this won't be able to drill into, so we'd like to pick up these universal brackets. We'll link this also down in the description in the event you have to convert yours to a license plate bracket as well. The way that this hooks up, your camera is going to have two connections in most instances, power and ground, as well as a video out. So this is our power and ground or power harness. This needs to go to the power and ground of our reverse light. So we'll have to tap into that. And this essentially will carry the video signal from the camera all the way to the aftermarket radio. Fortunately for us, it also has a built-in trigger wire. So one end of this wire will also tie into the power and ground or the power of our backup camera harness. We're just going to rob that so this trigger is going to see power when that light is on, and then the other end will go to the trigger wire of the radio. In our case, our trigger wire in our aftermarket radio happens to be pink, and it's our backup camera wire. So we're going to connect this to the backup camera wire of our aftermarket radio. That's essentially going to trigger the radio to automatically cycle over to the reverse image when it detects the car is backing up, and it does that by seeing 12 volts over the power wire of a reverse light. So we'll show you how we're going to make all the connections here. At this point in time, let's head to the car, start prepping the car and running our wire. We're going to mount our camera and get everything installed. Alright, so we got everything pulled apart here. We unsnapped the clips, pulled out all four nuts to allow this to come on off. We don't have to totally disconnect it. Now this is where you're going to have to determine if you're going to need the license plate bracket, or if you have the trim level like we do that doesn't have the button here in the back, which generally they do. If you don't have the button, you have a hard plastic piece, and this actually can screw right to that flat spot perfectly. Now if you have the button here, obviously you can't do that universal mount, and you're going to have to do the license plate mount instead. So we're going to forego the license plate mount. We're going to do the universal mount. We'll need to put a little notch here just so our wiring can pass up underneath. And then down here, we popped out our grommet. That's where we're going to feed our wire through. Alright, so we got our camera all mounted there. We put a little notch on the back of that plastic here so the wire doesn't get pinched, and fed it right through that grommet there. We just put a little slice of that grommet. You can also go to the grommet to the right of it too as well. It's just totally up to you. So that is in. Now we'll adjust the pitch once we have everything connected, but let's make sure we feed our wire through that little notch that we filed in, and then we'll get this fully seated. Alright, so we're at the bench. We started preparing our harness for camera since we've now gotten the camera mounted. This end plugs into the power red harness of the camera, and this plugs into the video output of the camera. Remember that lead that was off there, off our video wire? Well, you know, I just went ahead and teed it in. Since we're going to be hooking up our power harness to the power and ground of the reverse line, our trigger wire needs the same 12 volts to trigger the radio to go in reverse. So I stripped it back slightly here, and I just soldered onto that connection. So I have that connected there into the red side. Stripped it back. You can use a little flat blade to clean that off to get bare metal and make that connection here. You can also use a T-tap if needed. And then so this end will go all the way to the radio up front to the radio cavity. And then the other end will go to the camera input on the back of the radio, and that will go to the backup camera trigger wire, the reverse camera trigger wire of the radio. This end goes just simply to the positive wire and negative wire of our reverse lights. We'll show you how we're going to make that connection once we get to the car. So we're going to tape up connections. We like to loom the harness up a little bit. Since this is going along the factory loom through the trunk lid, we're going to also split loom it to match that factory look and to give it a little bit more protection as well. All right, so we got our backup camera all mounted, nice and secure. Goes up right up on through with that nice little notch that we put in. Now that came out there, we ran a wire down. This is where we made our connections to our power and video harness. Now we put some heat shrink up over those so they don't come undone there. But that's done. And then we split loomed those two wires. Just this length. As we go all the way down, we zip tied along. Now we're out here. We have our power ground and our video wire ready to go. Now we need to pull it apart. Our reverse light is right there. So what we need to do from the inside is just pull our carpet back so we can tap into the power and ground wire of our reverse light. Here, we pull this back. There's 3 anchor points here. You don't have to take out the reverse light because we can get to the wiring right here in this harness. So this is where we're going to zip tie all the way down here. And in this bundle, we just open this up and pull the wiring out. There's a black wire and a yellow wire. Black wire is going to be your ground. Yellow wire is going to be your reverse positive wire. And so what we did is we just stripped back the shielding there and soldered onto that. Now you can use some T-taps as well if that's easier for you. We'll wrap those connections in some electrical tape. And then our video wire, we're going to run forward. We pulled it out there, and we're going to run along kick panels all the way to the front of the car. Everything taped and zip tied, nice and clean. Now let's continue running our video wire forward towards the radio cab. Everything is all back together there. Done here in the trunk. Right here we have our wire, and it just comes out here, right? So we need to go up underneath the seat, work our way along the kick panel towards the radio cavity. Now we fed our backup camera wire up into the dash, just worked our way under panels and up underneath the carpet and fished it up into the dash. This again goes to the camera input on the back of the radio, and this goes to the trigger wire. So let's go ahead and grab our harness adapter from our aftermarket radio, and we're going to make that connection. Now like I said, we left this connection off. This reverse trigger may vary based on the brand that you're going in. In our case, it is a pink wire, so we're going to crimp in, and we left that wire out from our radio so we can tap into this when we install the radio previously. So this needs to go to the camera input on the back of the radio. As simple as that.
Now, obviously you didn't see us remove the radio because we covered that in great detail in the first video where we installed an aftermarket radio in this factory location. We'll have a link in the description which walks you through step by step on how to replace your factory radio with an aftermarket unit.
Before we get everything buttoned up, let's do a test.
All right, we are done and good to go. This thing turned out great, looks nice and clean, and automatically comes on when we go ahead and put it in reverse. The trunk's open, that's why we're looking at the garage, but it seems to be working great.
Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe to post great content on the channel all the time, and we'll see you in the next video.